G'day guys, it's FPL EJ and welcome back to another FPL video. In this one we are covering a full Game Week 8 wildcard guide. So yes, you heard it right. If you were planning on wildcarding this week after international break but wanted to get started on it now and have a bit of a tinker around with your team, then this is the video that you're going to be wanting to watch. We're going to be covering the best players for those positions that you want to know of. We're going to be covering from goalkeepers to all the way up to front, the best players in those price brackets, etc. This video is going to be an absolute banger. We've also got 3 drafts. If you don't have any clue, we've got 3 drafts at the end that we can tinker around with, and they are going to be such good players and teams that you guys can select that, trust me, they're going to get you so many points. So as always, if you enjoy, please drop the video a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for all the support we've been getting recently. It means so much to me, but let's just keep getting it. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll get back to you and help you out in any way. But without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so to kick things off in this Game Week 8 wildcard guide, we have to start things off by looking at the fixtures to target. So as you can see here, we have fixtures from Game Week 8 to 15, and these are the best teams to look for. So players within these teams are the players you're going to want to target the most. So with Chelsea, you can see a beautiful run of green fixtures until they hit Leicester and Man United. So having Chelsea defence is obviously something a lot of people are considering at the moment and have gone with. And then we can see Southampton have a good green roll of fixtures as well. So people that own Livramento are probably happy if they can get some more clean sheet points by him. So if you have Trent Alexander-Arnold and you have Livramento, you can keep Trent if he's not fit this week because you have Livramento that can back him up. And then if you have other players that aren't playing in defence, then you might have to fix up something with that, either a wild card, which you can watch this video to look at and get tips from, or you can use your free transfer or even take a hit. But so these are the great fixtures that you're going to want to target. Yeah, so these are the fixtures that you're going to want to target. And after Man United for Chelsea, they've got Watford and Leeds, which is also good fixtures. And then they've got more of a good run of fixtures before their fixtures turn sour. But Southampton, they have good fixtures, as I just mentioned. You can even consider Armstrong, which will be mentioned in this video later on. For Tottenham, Son is a big hit that everyone is thinking of lately. It's just hard to get him into your team, but they have a great run of fixtures after West Ham, Man United and Everton. Then they have a great run of 4 green fixtures: Leeds, Burnley, Brentford and Norwich, who are teams you're going to want to target within. So Brentford also a team, they've those fixtures, and Brentford are looking very strong this season. They've only got an expected goals conceded of 7.00, which is very low at the moment for a newly promoted team. So they're doing really well, and I don't think they're going to be getting relegated this season. Man City, we know how good they are of a team. They drew to Liverpool 3-3, which was an absolute ripper of a game. And, you know, Burnley, they've always been known to beat that team by around 4-5, 6-0. They're such a good team, Man City, and getting maybe looking at attackers to bring into your team, which will be covered in this video, and then defence, the double up, which is probably the strongest to go with either double defence or double City, which was mentioned in my last video if you haven't watched that yet. And then Wolves, they've got still a great run of fixtures. They've had a good run of fixtures for a while now, but even looking to get some of those players in is still a good option. You can look at the back like someone like Semedo, the Portuguese, or Marcel. You can look at players at the front like newly targeted Huang Hee-chan, who has been targeted a lot, and I actually mentioned him in my watch list video. So if you haven't watched that one yet either, go watch that as well. It's on my channel if you look down a bit, with Alan St. Maximin as my profile picture. But yeah, these are the teams that we're going to want to target if you're on a wild card from Game Week 8 to 15. So now let's look at the players within these teams that we're going to want to target. Okay, so now the discussion on which goalkeeper to pick for your wild card. So there's different ways you can go about your team, and that's things we're going to be looking at in the draft. But in goals, you want to keep it cheap, and sometimes people want to go for that premium keeper, which takes that price out of your on-field that are more likely to get you more points than a keeper most times, because they've got more chance of getting like an assist or goal than a keeper. But to keep things low in a keeper, you want to look for someone around that 4 to 4.5 million, and to have 4 million and a 4.5 million, I reckon 8 is the way to go. Maybe it's 4.6 million now with Ramsdale Sanchez's price going up. But the keepers I'm going to be looking at in this video for you guys is is Ramsdale, Sanchez, Meslier, and Edison. The best keeper out of these pick would have to be Ramsdale. He's got great stats, as you can see. He's kept 3 out of 4 clean sheets in the games that he's played so far. So out of 4 games he's played, he's kept 3 clean sheets. He's got a pretty low expected goals conceded in the matches he's played as well, 3.85, and he's getting 6 points per game, which is the highest out of all 4 of those keepers, even though he has a shorter sample size of matches that he's played. I have got Sanchez in my team right on the right of Ramsdale. Sanchez, I'm happy with him. He's a cheap pick and he's not doing too bad at all. His saves per 90 minutes is at 1.66, so just lower than Ramsdale's, who's got 2.15. He's got 3 out of 7 clean sheets, which is not too bad, but for a £4.6 million goalkeeper, that's fine. He's got expected goals conceded of 3.68. Brighton's defence has been really strong and surprisingly strong this season compared to other seasons before. And then Meslier on the end, he's probably not a keeper you want to look at. He's 5 million. I don't reckon Leeds have the strongest defence ever, so you do not want to target Meslier. I just put him in here for a differential pick. He's got good fixtures though coming up, so if you did want to look at him in the next few fixtures as a bit of a differential player, then you can look at him. He's got Southampton away, Wolves home, and Norwich away. Norwich you might want to target. That's why we're going to be looking at Rafinha later as well. And at Edison, if you want to go for that premium keeper out of Mendy, Edison, Alisson, you're going to want to go with Edison. The reasons for that: Tuchel likes to sometimes give Kepa a go because he feels bad for him, and Kepa is a good keeper as well. So Mendy, you don't want to spend 6 million on a keeper if he's going to get subbed off one game. Alisson, Liverpool are looking good this season, but I don't reckon Alisson is the way to go because, if you're going to go with anyone, it has to be Edison. He's got great stats there, and you can see he's got an expected goals conceded of 2.66, which is ridiculous for a goalkeeper. That is so impressive, and that's one of the reasons you want to go for him. Edison does get carried a bit by defence in Man City because they're such a drilled and smart defensive team, but the way that Edison can just ping the ball to his players, he's going to be getting assists this season. I can already tell he might get a few assists like you saw Jose Sarr got this season already. He's priced at 6 million, so he's a premium keeper in that premium keeper category. He's got 5 points per game at the moment, an average of 5, which is fine. He's kept 5 out of 7 clean sheets, which is ridiculous as well. And then he's only getting around 1.18 saves per 90. Man City is such a strong team, and to get it during Edison's half, it's pretty hard. So yeah, that's why he doesn't have many save points. If you're going to go with the premium keeper option, it's definitely Edison. But out of all of those options, I would go with Ramsdale. Okay, on your wildcards, you're going to want to include at least one budget defender. And so here I've got the 6 best budget defenders in my opinion. And yeah, so let's have a look at them. Most expensive, you can see with the red being Cash. He's looking good at this season so far. In 5.1 million, he's kind of in that budget defense category, and yes, he is looking very good, I reckon, for Aston Villa this season. His XGI, which is expected assist and expected goals per 90, is 0.12, which is low, but that's alright for a defender. He plays more of that centre back role with Tyrone Mings. His shots, he's taking around 1 shot per game, which is also good. The Aston Villa's team as a whole is expected to concede around 8.80 goals so far during 7 matches that they've played. So the XGCs combined with their team defended 3 out of 7 clean sheets. His points per game is around 4.28, which is fine. He's got good fixtures coming up soon after Arsenal, West Ham, and then he's got a few more different fixtures, and then he's got better fixtures in. So if you're going to want to maybe include one budget defender, then you could look to bring in Cash. And then Gabriel, he is looking very good at the moment for Arsenal. Arsenal have got a lot of options in defence, like Ben White next to him, but if you want to get in Gabriel, I reckon he's a good player to bring in. Out of the last 4 matches that he's played this season, he's only played 4 matches for Arsenal this season. He's kept 3 out of 4 clean sheets, which is very surprisingly good. Their expected goals conceded was 13 or something before he came into their team. Now that he's got it down, well, not him, but they've got it down to 3.45 since he's been in the team, which is maybe something to look at. He's taken around 1 shot a game like Cash as well, and his XGI is very low, but that's fine. He's getting 5.75, which is the highest out of all of these players so far. So yes, I mean, he's definitely a good option as a defender if you're going to want to look for one. He's got good fixtures as well. Arsenal have got good fixtures. Next to him, Ben White. He is a differential, and you can go for him for that 4.4 million price. These are all differentials apart from Livramento and Duffy maybe. Ben White, he doesn't take any shots per game. He's that boring defender and centre back. His XGI is very low, and his expected goals conceded is 13.5 as a whole for Arsenal, because he's played 5 games and kept 3 clean sheets. Shane Duffy, he's looking decent. Actually, he's got the best shots per 90 here with up there with 1.86. His XGI 0.07, which is low. Conceded is 7.47. So he has conceded goals. Clean sheets, he's got 3 out of 7 clean sheets, which is fine. Same as Sanchez. And then he's getting 5 points per game. He's not the highest there. It's not meant to be green, but he's going to get 5 points per game, which is fine. And their fixtures aren't looking too good in game week 9 and 10, Man City and Liverpool. But this week, they're looking fine. Also, next to him, Livramento is a highly owned player and definitely a good defender to have in there from the Southampton team. His shots per 90, 0.29, which is not too high, but that is fine. We saw he got us assist last week. He got the penalty, and so then Ward-Prowse got the penalty in, so he got the assist for that. His clean sheets, only 2 out of 7. Southampton, they're looking okay defensively, but I reckon he has more chances in these upcoming fixtures of Leeds, Burnley and Watford, and even more better ones. His clean sheets, he's got 2 out of 7, so yeah, not too good for that. And then yeah, he's getting around 3 points per game, which is the lowest out of all 6 of these defenders. So that is also something to consider. But he is the cheapest out of all of these. And then Jansen, I think that's how you pronounce it. He is a differential on here, but definitely a good differential as well. He's done really well for Brentford, getting the most points in Brentford's defence. He's taken around 0.29 shots per 90, which is not too much. His XGI is also pretty high, 0.13. And he's got expected goals conceded of 7, which is fine. It's the second lowest out of all 6. He's defended 3 out of 7 clean sheets, and he's getting around 5.42 points per game. Brentford do have good fixtures after that Chelsea fixture in game week 8, so yes, he is someone you can consider, and in the drafts later, he is someone I mentioned, so just hang around till then. Okay, before we get into the best 5.5 million midfielder pick, I didn't mention the best defenders for your wildcard, but I do have them in the draft, so don't worry. I did mention the best defenders last week in the last week's video, so if you haven't, make sure you go check that out, and then you'll get your information there. But also, just wait until the end of the video for the drafts to see what defenders I've included, which are also the best defenders to include in your team. But now with the best 5.5 million midfielders, so yes, the stats are from this season and the games that individual players have played, so the minutes they have played. And Decore, Townsend, they're both the Everton players I have here representing Everton. Then Gallagher, the same price as Decore at 5.7, both the highest. Mbeumo, the second cheapest player on here, with Smith Rowe being the cheapest. But let's have a look at the best stats on these guys. So Gallagher, you can see there, 3 greens. He has the best stats out of all of these 5 players I've got here. His fixtures are turning good after around that Man City. I'm pretty sure he's going to be getting better fixtures, okay? He's got a good expected goals of 0.49 for a midfielder, which is fine. He's got expected assist 90 of 0.27. He is on set pieces as well. If you've been watching Crystal Palace, you can see he's on set pieces, some set pieces now. His XGI 0.76, which is the highest here. That is also very impressive for a 5.7 million midfield in that 5.5 million midfield bracket, and he's getting around 5.66 points per game, which is also high, and that is good. Decore and Townsend both getting the most points per match, which is 6.14, obviously in the same team as well. Townsend has looked very good, especially against Manchester United, getting that goal, as I did mention in last week's video as well. Decore's been looking also pretty exciting down there as well in the midfield. He's taking around 1.71 shots, which is not too high, but you can see the stats there for him yourself. They've both got good fixtures, Townsend and Decore. West Ham, Watford, Wolves definitely do a bit of damage to Watford at home in game week 9, especially when they've got their crowd behind them, and they also do this week against West Ham, so see if they can put anything past the West Ham defence. And yeah, they're also good picks to have in there. And Gray, he just reached outside that 5.7 bracket of 5.8. I could have included him in here, but that's alright. He's also pretty equal with their stats, and yeah, they're all good players to include, and I'll show you later in the drafts. And then Gallagher, we just mentioned him. He's a player you want to look at after that Man City. When his fixtures come good, you got to get him in your team. His stats are too good to miss, and the games he's played so far, which have been against some tough opponents, he has done really well. And yeah, you can see there by his stats, he's doing a lot of good stuff there with his expected goals and assists at the good mark for definitely for a 5.7 million midfield. And then Mbeumo, his ownership is going to skyrocket over these next coming weeks. Brentford have got great fixtures, so Tony and Mbeumo are a big duo double up that a lot of people are going to be considering on their wild cards. So if you are wild carding this week, you got to have to include Mbeumo. After this Chelsea fixture, his stats and games are coming up are unbelievable. His XGI 0.58 with mainly his expected goals per 90 0.52. He's been unlucky. He's hit the woodwork 3 times this season so far. He's probably been the most unluckiest player this whole tournament so far. So if he can get some more goals this season, then yeah, I reckon he's a good player. And if you want points and you want to have points with someone that's not a rotation risk and gives you a sub headache, then you're going to want to bring in Mbeumo. He's looking amazing, and yeah, he's a good player to bring in. So him and Tony, they're going to work well together this season. So if you're going to consider one midfielder, it'll be Mbeumo out of this list, in my opinion. But Smith Rowe, don't forget about him for Arsenal. He's looking very scary at the moment. He's looking good for them, and he's also the cheapest option out of all these 5.5, just below that mark of 5.4 million, which is good. He's got good fixtures coming up, as I did mention before, with Ramsdale in the same team. His points per game, shots per 90 and XGI 90 is pretty low, but that's okay. He can definitely get those up when he versus different teams, maybe easier teams. As you can see, Crystal Palace are home behind the home crowd at Emirates Stadium, and definitely Crystal Palace, Gallagher's team, that's a team you can target. And yeah, he's a good player, so if you want to target him, then you can look to bring him in, and I'll show you how at the end of the video. And to top off the midfielders for your wildcard, unlike the defenders, I have had the best midfielders for your wildcard if you're going to pick any coming up. And also look at my drafts at the end of the video if you want to make sure they're good. So yes, Son is a differential that people are going to be bringing in. After this West Ham and Man United fixtures, he is definitely a player you can look after. After Everton, he's got Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich. They're fixtures that a lot of people are going to be targeting, and as well as Harry Kane, who also will look he hasn't looked so good yet, but he might be a player you can bring in then. Heung-min Son, he's versing Newcastle this week, so if you have him, you're lucky. Newcastle aren't great yet. They're going to be good in the next upcoming seasons, as we know about Saudi Arabia buying them for 300 odd mil. So they're not great yet, but they're going to be in the future. So if you can still look for them as a team to target, like to bring in players if they're versing them as a differential, as a 1 week punt, etc. Son's got a lot of highest expected goals on this list of 0.33, which is not unbelievably high out of all these 5 midfielders, but it is good enough. His expected GI 90 per 90 is 0.41, which is good. His shots per 90 is 3.25. He's got around 7 points per game, which is also, that's really high. It's the highest on this list by around 3, which is a fair margin. Rafinha in next to him. This guy is an unbelievable pick for these upcoming weeks. He's got unbelievable fixtures as well still, and he's only 6.6 million. I will show you how you can include him in your team as well in a minute. His expected goals per 90 0.24 and expected assist of the highest on this list of 0.20, which is looking very good. He's looking deadly out there as well for Leeds. He's taking around 3.49 shots per game, around 3 shots per game, which is the highest on this list also out of these 5 midfielders. So yeah, he's definitely not someone that's backing away. He's taken shots. He's got a good price. So yes, I reckon he is a very good player you should bring in, and so is Son, but you have to wait on for Son. If you're going to bring in anyone at the moment, bring in Rafinha for anyone. But yeah, he's a good player to bring in, and his fixtures, as I just mentioned, they're amazing. This guy is a differential right next to him, Kovacic. I don't know about him. He's looked good this season, and everyone can say he's looked good in that midfield, but I don't know too much about him. He's got the cheapest priced on here of 5.2 million. It's a bit unfair putting him with these other big guys. He should have been in the last bracket, category bracket, but with 5.5 million midfielders, but that's alright. His expected goals per 90 and assists is pretty high up there with 0.37, it's not too much lower than these guys up that you can see on the left and right of him. His shots per 90 is pretty low though, of 1.48. If you can get that up a bit, he would definitely be a good pick. But him working with Lukaku, Tuchel reckons him and Lukaku's chemistry, and now Mason Mount when he gets back into the side is going to be good, and it is better at the moment than other players that are creeping up to their standards as well. But yeah, Chelsea, we talked about their fixtures in the start of the video, fixtures to target. So yeah, he's also a good player. This guy next to him though, Zaha, he is definitely a differential on this list. His expected goals and expected assist. So his expected goal involvement per 90 is 0.48, which is the highest out of all these midfielders. Surprisingly, even higher than Heung-min Son there on the far left as almost a premium option. But look, he's looking good this season so far, Zaha. He always looks good for the seasons that he's played at Crystal Palace. So yeah, let's just see how he can keep going. I wouldn't be tempted to bring him in yet. He has still got a high price there of 7 million. When you've got players around him like Rafinha, Kovacic, Saka, who is almost better picks, like say Rafinha is probably a better pick than Zaha, then you may as well go with the cheaper option. But look, it's Crystal Palace, same as Gallagher. When their fixtures turn around, he's definitely going to be a good option to include into your team. So yeah, and then Saka here on the far right, 6.3 million. This guy is an absolute good player. He's a threat. He plays in the England international team. He's an absolute unbelievable player. So if you're going to include him in your team, I reckon it is a good option. Let's Talk FPL. Andy also did include him in his team. He's not too happy about it, but I don't know. I reckon Saka, his fixtures, look at them. Crystal Palace at home, Aston Villa at home, and then Leicester away. But these first two fixtures, Crystal Palace at home and Aston Villa at home, they're both great fixtures to include and to try to get onto and get points from Saka. I reckon he will get some goals for those games. He's got an expected goal involvement per 90 of 0.42, so he's getting good amount of assist and goals there. He's getting a good amount of expected assist and goals there as well. And his shots are pretty low, but they're not too bad. So yeah. And last, just before we get into looking at the best Man City midfield options, here we have the best mid-range and budget forwards. So winning this, you can see Antonio there, but Antonio's fixtures don't look too good coming up. But his stats are unbelievable. He's got 5 goals and 4 assists this season, expected goals of 0.81 and expected assist of 0.35 per 90. 0.81 expected goals is unbelievably high. That is ridiculous stats there. And his shots, he's taken out 4.50, which is also the highest out of all 6 of these forwards. His fixtures aren't looking too good, so that is something that is going to turn him off people. But he's getting 8.16 points per game, which is also very high. Next to him would be Hwang, only getting around 6 points per game, which is also still really good. But Jimenez, 7.5 million, so 0.5 million cheaper than Antonio, is looking like a really good option for a lot of managers upcoming. He's got 1 goal and 2 assists in the last 3 matches. He's got 0.26 assists and goals per 90, which is really good as well. And he's got 2.43 shots per 90 minutes, which is decent as well. He's got 3.71 points per game, which is not too high, but because of his first 5 fixtures, he didn't get any returns. So a lot of people would have missed out on a few points there if you did own him from the start. But next to him, Watkins, he's played the last few games and he's doing really well. Watkins has played the last 4 matches and so he's played 90 in his last 4 matches and owned by only 1.6% of managers. So he is definitely a player that a lot of people can think about, and maybe in the near future you can bring him in because he is cheaper than Danny Ings if you're going for an Aston Villa asset. But Hwang there on the far right, let's move to him while we're on to Wolves just before. Hwang, his ownership is 4.2% at the moment. So if you're going to get on him early before he gets another price rise to 5.7, now is the time to do it. Their fixtures look perfectly fine and suitable to get him in there for some points, and I reckon he is going to be starting there instead of Traore. He's had 191,000 transfers in this week as well already, so if you want to get on him now's the chance, and then you can thank me later. So I reckon those two are good players to think about. But Tony there at the front as well. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists, and his fixtures turn remarkable, and they are going to be so good soon. His stats are going to be like skyrocketing soon if he does concede a lot of goals, and if he does get a lot of goals. After Chelsea, as I mentioned with Mbeumo, he's going to be skyrocketing up there with the points, and I reckon he's a player you're going to have to get in there at the front. He's third cheapest out of all these 6 players, 6.3 million. I do include him in my drafts, so if you wait just in a minute, you'll see the drafts. He's got 4.42 points per game, which is not too bad. It's the third highest here apart from Antonio. His expected goals is 0.27, which is fine. That is good still for a forward. You could do better, but for his price, that is perfectly good. And his assist is really good actually for his price, 0.45. So yes, Tony is definitely a player that a lot of players are going to consider. A lot of managers are going to consider soon. And then Armstrong, 1 goal, 1 assist this season. Southampton's fixtures do look good, and so putting a differential in here that of Armstrong, who a lot of people might even decide to hop onto soon. He's got at 6 million, which is the second cheapest on this whole list out of all 6 of these good forwards. He's got really low expected goals and expected assists, the lowest on this graphic. He's got shots per 90 of 3.07, which is not too bad. It's just a little bit higher than Jimenez, Tony, and Huang's. So yeah, he's got a good shots per 90 there. And then his points per game is low. His fixtures do look amazing, as I did mention a bit with Liveramento. So if you're going to look for Armstrong, there is ways you can do that, and I'll show you in just a minute. So yeah, that's what we're looking at for the best mid-range and budget forwards. Now let's just get into a few duo comparisons, and then let's get into the drafts. Okay, first duo comparison is a highly requested one. A lot of people have been thinking about these two players and which one to get out of both of these. They are at the same price, and that is Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, both at that 7.9 million mark, as Grealish did drop 0.1 a few weeks ago. Their fixtures look amazing. As I did mention before, they have got a big record of getting goals against Burnley, and at home as well, with the Etihad crowd behind them. I reckon they can get a few goals past them. But which one to choose out of these two? The best one with their best stats, who's only played a few games but has still got really good stats and looks more attacking, would be Phil Foden. Expected goals and assists per 90 of 30, 6.60 each together, and then where Jack Grealish 0.47 together. Jack Grealish is looking more nailed there now with Pep, but then Jack Grealish got moved to that number 9 position, and then Foden on the left wing. And as we saw with Foden for England against Andorra, he got 2 assists. Jack Grealish got a great goal though, which is also good as well. But Foden is looking so attacking at the moment, and Grealish ownership has gone down remarkably since Foden played. And yeah, Foden is someone that a lot of people are considering, especially with these fixtures. With Man United, Everton and West Ham, it's a bit of a situation, but Brighton, Burnley and Crystal Palace are fixtures you have to target, especially Crystal Palace there in green at home as well. So yeah, these two, if you're going to pick one, it has to be Phil Foden out of these two. And last, a bit of an odd one here, Vardy and Lukaku comparison. So yes, Lukaku did get an injury. Alright, he got an injury, so he's got a 75% chance of playing due to a muscle injury. His ownership is still 37%. But 114,000 managers have transferred him out due to this injury, and 125,000 have still transferred him in since last game week. But I've put Jamie Vardy on this list because I've seen people on Twitter say that they're going to bring Jamie Vardy if Lukaku is out this week. Jamie Vardy is looking amazing at the moment, and he's so under talked. Not many people talk about him because of his price, 10.5 million, but the way he's been getting returns lately is very good. He's equal golden boot now with Salah on 6 goals so far, so they're both higher than Antonio, who's got 5 goals. And yeah, Jamie Vardy is just looking so well attacking and as good as ever as he always is. He's always good every season for Leicester. But at the moment, he's looking so good, and especially putting all those goals in the back of the net. His expected goals and assists of per 90 is 0.62, which is high. But there you go, Lukaku is way higher of 0.94. So Lukaku is still the player to have in your team. He is such a good player, and we know that these both of these players are good players, but if you're going to have one of them, it has to still be Lukaku. Even though he's injured, we'll have to keep an eye out on his injury updates. But if you're going to bring Lukaku in this week on a free transfer, if you're not wildcarding, you're going to bring Lukaku in, I don't reckon there's a need. I reckon you keep Ronaldo against Leicester because they have an blessed to have an expected goals conceded of 10.88 out of 7 matches this season, which is that's 12 goals they've conceded this whole season so far out of 7 matches. So they've conceded a lot, and especially against Manchester United, who have got great players, as I just mentioned, Cristiano Ronaldo being one of them. You can keep Cristiano Ronaldo this week, but making sure that you get Lukaku in next week for Norwich if he is fit. But there we go. You can see both of their fixtures there. You can see their stats as well. And if I was to pick one of these on your wildcard, it would be Lukaku. But there is ways you can make a really good team with Vardy, which I'm going to show you now. Okay, so on to my wildcard draft 1. So here we have a really good wildcard draft. If you're going to wildcard, this is definitely one that you consider. As you can see here, we have Rudiger, Alexander-Arnold in defence, Diaz and Cancelo there. This is double Man City defence and only one Chelsea defender, but Rudiger is definitely the more nailed option for Chelsea, even with his back injury at the moment. He has got 75% chance of playing still with that back injury. But Ramsdale in goals are, as I mentioned when I talked about the goalkeepers, Ramsdale playing there is a good pick. Foster, like for the rest of the drafts, having Foster there as that backup keeper is the only 4 million keeper that is playing at the moment for backman. It's going to be a toss around there, especially with Watford's new coach. Just depends what he likes, who he likes more, I guess, or who plays better and gets better results. But that's who's going to be keeping there. And then, so yeah, our defence is looking good. But and then putting it in midfield here, you have Brownhill at 4.4, Rafinha, Salah, Mbeumo and Townsend. You can change this Townsend player around to a lot of the other 5.5 players that I mentioned before. Before I do that, we've got at the front Antonio still, if you want to keep him in. If you take him out, you can still take him out. But as you can see here, 1.2 million still remaining in the bank with this team here. Lukaku in, you can easily keep that 1.2 in the bank and bring in Ronaldo. You can even downgrade Antonio. You can put Son in this team as well, which I'll show you in a minute. But Townsend, let's talk about him. In this team here, with this team, you can pick a different 5.5 around that bracket that I've mentioned on that graphic before in the video. You can pick someone here that might be better than him. So say you can pick someone like Townsend, Gray. You can pick like, let me move that. You can pick Townsend, Gray, Decore if you want. So if you have Decore, 1.1 still remaining in the bank, you can pick Decore. You can even pick, if I quickly check out that, you can even pick Gallagher as well. So there's so many options you can do with this 5.5 million option. So you can go back at the graphic, look at the stats there. If you're going to pick this team, you can go back, look at the graphic and see which one you like more. Whoever you had in your mind the most, you can bring into your team there. Even another one we mentioned in there, we didn't mention Gray, but you could bring Gray in your team as well for 1.1 million still remaining in the bank. You can also bring in, let's say, Smith Rowe, you can bring into your team as well. If he's here, you can bring, yep, let me just replace him, sorry. So yeah, you can also bring in Smith Rowe as well. And it will all work out, 1.4 million in the bank, so even more. So there's definitely great options and different things you can do with this wildcard draft here. And it's definitely a good one as well. So if you're going to consider this wildcard draft, it's definitely got a lot of options open for you. So yeah, that's draft 1. Okay, so this next wildcard draft has got a few differences in here. We can see we downgraded Trent Alexander-Arnold and we brought in Pinnock. He's looking good. I put him on the video for budget defenders. I reckon he's got good stats, as you can see coming up here. We can see he's got good stats here all the way down to here. You can keep him till game week 19 if you want to. We've also got, say, Cancelo, Diaz still in the team, Rudiger still in the team, and the same keepers. But in the midfield, we've got a bit of a difference here. We've put Foden in the team, okay? So this time we've got Foden there instead of Mbeumo. We've put Saka in the team. But the way we fit these guys in because of their budget, we've put Jimenez in here, 7.5 instead of Antonio. We've still got Tony in here because he's a good option. But we've put Vardy in here instead of Lukaku. So if you wanted to go with the difference and still put Lukaku in here if you wanted to, but just for this draft, you can definitely put Lukaku in here. 2.6 million still. So if I put Lukaku in here still, so if I just go on quickly and put Lukaku in here, yep, still works out to have 1.4 in the bank. You can upgrade Saka, upgrade Foden. You can even bring in Son if you really want to. So there's definitely good options you can do for this draft. And yeah, so it's really similar to the other one, but it's just a few differences, and that's that different that can get you 50 or 70 points one game week. So if you're going to play this kind of team, you'd probably want to play about a 4-4-2. You can switch around Jimenez, Tony, maybe keeping Lukaku in there for that fixture run. We did mention it already before, but for keeping him for this fixture run here, even taking him out for Man United, then you can play Jimenez, Tony, and stuff like that. So you've got definitely a lot of differences you can do with this, and with 1.4 still in the bank, this is a good wildcard option as well. But let's get into that last one quickly. Okay, so our last draft here, with this team here, will leave us 1 million in the bank. And this is a different team. We've taken Pinnock out, we've put Azpilicueta in. And one thing I wanted to mention before, Pinnock, you could replace Pinnock and not just have Pinnock in there though. You can also, if I go to defenders, you can also have Jansen in there as well, which is also a good pick. But Azpilicueta, you can trade him with Alonso if you wanted as well, or even Chilwell. I've put Cancelo still in the team, but Laporte, I've taken him in, bought him in instead of Diaz, and you can get this team looking good as well. It's got 1 million left in the bank, and you can have Rafinha, Salah, and Son. This is a big team here. It's almost like a freemium. You can have Son in here, Mbeumo as well, still those great fixtures as I'll just show you quickly again. You can have Mbeumo in here for these fixtures in Game Week 9 all the way till Game Week 18. And then Huang's in this team as well, which is also a differential pick, but it's going to get highly owned soon. As you can see, 4.2% owned right now. But then Tony here looking good as well, good as ever. Tony in every team, because those fixtures, as I just showed with Mbeumo, they're looking great. So, yeah, and then Lukaku, you can have Lukaku in your team as well. And, yeah, so you can have Lukaku in your team, or you can even take him out and bring in Ronaldo as well to this team if you wanted to do that. Sorry, I was just on the wrong one. You can also bring into Ronaldo into this team if you wanted to do that, and still have 0.2 million in the bank remaining. But if you didn't want to do that, if you wanted to keep Lukaku in your team, I did have Ronaldo in there originally, so it's just going to keep that. But if you wanted to keep Lukaku in your team, then you can do that. You can play around with this team here. You can upgrade Huang to someone like with 6.6 million, so you can bring him in, bring Saint Maximin in your team if you want him. I've mentioned him in other good videos. He's got tough fixtures though coming up, but he's an absolute beast of a player. You can also bring in for that 6.6 player mark, you can bring in Maupay, who's looking good for Brighton for those fixtures. If we show you those quickly, yeah, he's got some good fixtures. Man City and Liverpool, they aren't looking too good, but even if you're here at Game Week 11 to 13, and then after West Ham, Southampton, Tottenham, Wolves, they look good as well. If you want to consider Maupay, maybe just for even a 1 week punt this week for Norwich away to Norwich for Game Week 8. But yeah, these are all options you can do with this team here. Azpilicueta, I'll just quickly show you. You can bring in you can trade Azpilicueta for players like Alonso. You can bring in Alonso for him. You can even bring in, say, Chalobah if you want to bring in Chalobah. So there's so many good options you can bring in for him. And if you have Trent, you can't bring in Trent. But yeah, there's so many good options you can bring for him. So if I just put Azpilicueta back in the team, you have so many good options here, and this team has got Son in it as well. You can always downgrade Son if you want more money left in the bank or whatever. And yeah, so I haven't showed you any teams with a premium goalkeeper, but you can always fit in someone with those three out of those 3 drafts. So yeah, comment down below which draft you guys like the most, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like. But I'm going to get into the outro now. Okay, so that is a wrap up from me. This video did go for a while, so thank you guys so much for sitting through to the end. If you did make it to the end, comment down below saying FPL EJ made it to the end, and I'll get back to you, give it a love. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you are going to wildcard in Game Week 8, then this must have helped you. And if it does help you, you get 100 points. Come back in Game Week 9 and write on the comment section for this video saying, I got 100 points or whatever because of you. But guys, if you did learn something, make sure you just smash the like button on this video. Make sure you drop a sub if you haven't yet, and turn those noti bells on so you can hear any updates or anything that happens to this channel. But I hope you guys got so much tips and learnt so much stuff from this video. I hope you found a draft that you like, and if you did, comment down below, as I did say at the end, which one you liked, number 1, 2 or 3. But yeah, see you later guys. Good luck for Game Week 9.